Welcome to hour number 2 of the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm Amy Holmes, filling in for Steve, who has extended his July 4th holiday weekend. I'm joined by my co-host, Bill Tucker. Before we welcome in our next guest, I want you to take a listen to Jeb Bush addressing Donald Trump's recent comments regarding illegal Mexican immigrants. Take a look.
To make these extraordinarily ugly kind of comments is not reflective of the Republican Party. Trump is wrong on this. He's doing this. I mean, he's not a stupid guy, so I don't assume he's like he thinks that every Mexican crossing the border is a rapist. I mean, so he's doing this to inflame and to incite and to draw attention, which seems to be his organizing principle of his campaign. And it doesn't represent the Republican Party or its values.
The Donald, as always, getting reaction and making headlines. And we are now joined by actress and author Sam Sorbo, host of the Sam Sorbo Radio Show, to discuss all of this. Welcome, Sam. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Great. You're there in Los Angeles, where people don't necessarily talk about politics too much, but I know that you talk about it every day. And of course, you saw Jeb Bush's reaction to Donald Trump's remarks. Do you think Donald Trump is mixing things up in a good way that's putting Republicans on the record?
Well, this is a conversation that I want to hear, the conversation about securing the border. We have a very insecure border, and I mean, you heard the comments before the 4th of July celebration that we were all warned that there could be further attacks on the 4th of July. Even the people in leadership are admitting that we are a country that is very vulnerable right now. So I'm thankful that Trump comes out and raises the discussion. I think he might have chosen his words a little bit more carefully, but one of the appealing things about Donald Trump is he's not careful, and that makes him appealing. That's why he has surged in the polls, I think, is because people don't feel like they're getting a concocted story from him. They feel like he's just speaking his mind. And he went back on the attack towards Jeb Bush and said, you know, Bush has called this an act of love. But when you're sending rapists to a country, it's not an act of love necessarily.
Yeah, Sam, this is Bill Tucker. Hi. His comments, Trump's comments, to some degree are being mischaracterized. They're picking up on the inflammatory part about them being rapists. What they're not paying attention to is the fact that we're not getting Mexico's best. We're honestly getting Mexico's most desperate. These are people whom an economy is left behind, and they are coming here with low skills, low education, and the press is not choosing to focus on that part of the argument, and which I find very, very interesting. And I'm wondering if it might not score Mr. Trump a lot more points than the media would like to admit that it will.
Oh, I love that point. He also broadened his statement. He wasn't talking about Mexicans as much as he was talking about people crossing the Mexican border. And I know Border Patrol people who are dealing with non-Mexican. We're talking about every other country in the world that has discovered that the Mexican border is quite porous. I mean, we even have tunnels under the border now. So this is a very difficult problem that we need to have solved. And I think that Trump is right that when he points to Jeb Bush and says this is not the guy to solve this particular problem, he's correct. I have a friend who's starting a campaign called Citizens First. And so when you talk to your leadership, your congressman or the leadership in your state, ask that when they answer questions on immigration, ask them how they're putting the citizens of this country first, because we oughtn't to be putting illegal immigrants first. We need to put the citizens first.
Well, we saw, of course, in San Francisco, Donald Trump spoke on that, this case in San Francisco of a beautiful young woman, a 32-year-old girl who'd moved to San Francisco, who was shot point blank randomly by an illegal immigrant who'd been deported 5 times and had 7 felony convictions. And you don't see this story in the press. You're not a little bit on Fox News and in conservative media, but certainly not in mainstream media. But there's one thing about Donald Trump that I think does need to be clarified. Pat and Stu, talking on the Blaze Radio this morning, giving a plug to my employer, they pointed out that Donald Trump used to be for amnesty. So while he has these tough words and this rhetoric about border security, it seems like he kind of just, puts his finger to the wind and takes the temperature, if I may mix my metaphors.
Well, here's the problem. If that's what he's doing, then he's done a very bad job, because he's losing all of his contracts right now. I mean, he's paying a big price for these comments. So I'm not certain about that. And I can't comment on him being pro-amnesty before, but he certainly is talking a tough game now. The problem is that, people make promises, as we know. And so that's what we're stuck with, is you make a bunch of promises leading up, and then the question is whether you'll deliver. I don't know if he can deliver on these things. I just think that what he's talking about needs to be a focal point, and American citizens, especially the immigrant community, because it's usually the immigrant community that is most affected by the illegal immigrants. And they're the ones that need to be speaking up and saying, he's right. In fact, I played a clip on my show this morning, giving a shameless plug to my show.
We welcome it, Sam.
We played a guy who was saying, my son was killed by an illegal immigrant, and I live in an immigrant community, and he's speaking for us. He's speaking for the dead.
Yeah, Sam, this bill again, I've done over the years, I don't even know how many stories in immigration that I've done. My question that bothers me all of the time is, when are we going to have an honest conversation about immigration and an immigration policy and what we want? And if Trump is stirring the pot to create that conversation, I'm in full support of him regardless of what he might have believed in the past. Do you think we're getting to the point where we can start to have an honest, real conversation about immigration?
Okay, so I have to read this because this is Michael Steele. He's the former RNC chair. And he said, well, everyone in the country reacted to this and you didn't. The party didn't. Those who want to be president didn't until what, this week? That's a problem. It's a problem of authenticity. The Republican Party is having a problem with authenticity, especially because of what Donald Trump is saying. So I'm not saying that I'm supporting him for president, but I am absolutely supporting his raising this discussion. And I loved what Ann Coulter answered also. Oh, so they only said 2 rapists? Is 2 rapists okay? Like, we're okay with that?
No, we're certainly not okay with that. Switching gears to the other side of the aisle, Hillary Clinton this weekend in New Hampshire with this hilarious treatment of the press. I'm sure you saw it, of her literally rounding them up with rope. We were joking, was the rope retractable? Were these like children's leashes that she was putting on the press? My question to you, Sam, is what is she afraid of? This is a woman who's been in public life for 4 decades, and she can't talk to a single reporter?
Well, exactly, because the reporters have always been on her side. But remember, when Obama joined the race, they all turned against her. So they really aren't her friends. So I think that she's very fearful of the press, and that's been proven time and time again. I love that her campaign came back and said, don't get tied up in knots. It's a horrible thing. But let's face it, I mean, what was the first thing that Bill Clinton did when he entered the presidency? Don't ask, don't tell. We should have known right then what we were going to get from Clinton.
Hillary Clinton's campaign motto. And you know what, Sam, let's face it, in the past, it's worked for her. If you remember, she had the listening tour when she was campaigning for the United States Senate to be a senator from New York, and it worked, shutting out the press.
Yeah, she makes it work. I don't know, I'm not quite sure how, but she does. So, and it's disconcerting because I played audio today of somebody attacking a reporter who was just asking the question, hey, do you think it was disingenuous for her to say that they were dead broke when they left the White House? And this woman said, well, I think you're a miserable little man. Shame on you for even raising this question. Her supporters support her. They love her name. They love her brand. And they will not be dissuaded. And so as long as she can just keep on her trajectory, she's not afraid of the press. She simply will cordon them off. She won't answer questions. She won't talk to them. Her supporters support her. That's it.
Really quickly, Sam, we don't have a lot of time before we go. Do you think that Bernie Sanders is a real threat to Hillary Clinton? He's climbing the polls, but he's still pretty far behind. But look, he's the one who's drawing the crowds.
Well, at first I thought he was the chicken guy, so it took me a little while to figure out that he's actually
That's Colonel Sanders.
An actual threat to Hillary? Honestly, no, I don't. But I find it fascinating that as a socialist, that he is climbing the polls, that he's getting any traction whatsoever. It's a sad day in America.
It's incredible. I think that he is exposing where the Democratic Party has drifted further and further to the left. Sam Sorbo, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Up next, famed economist Peter Morici on the Greek debt crisis. Stick around.